All right, guys, we are live for the Week 17 recap, and this is going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more structured than last week's recap. So what I have right here, I have the script that I would normally have for like a normal weekly recap. That's not a a live after a game. So for anybody that's watching this, that's not on the live stream, we will just go ahead and dive right in, and then we will kind of just go through the games, the order that you see here. The every game right here, it goes in that order. So we will start, like I said, we were going to have a normal script, and we're going to go with the Browns-Jets. So all of Week 17 is in the books, and it started back on Thursday with the game between the Jets and Browns. The Browns would go on to win with a score of 37-20 in a game Joe Flacco would throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for the third time in 4 games. This win also secured a playoff spot for the Browns, and when Flacco is playing like this is a wild card team nobody wants to play. Flacco is also the only quarterback in Browns history to throw for 300 yards in 4 straight games. Cleveland has won 4 in a row, and they play Cincy in Week 18, and they could very easily enter the postseason, winning 5 straight games and be the definition of a team heating up at the right time. Selfishly, I want them to play the Ravens in the playoffs this year, as that would be a very fun game. For the Jets, you're not going to win many games when you give up 34 points in the first half on the road, especially when your starting quarterback is Trevor Siemian. Not only that, but left tackle Mekhi Becton had a pass blocking grade of just 10.4 and allowed 8 pressures and a sack in a single game. Oh, and he also had 5 penalties. 12 penalties and allowing 37 points on the road summarizes this game for the Jets. 2024 cannot come soon enough. So, guys, that was one game, and like we said, we're going to do all games. So, like I said, I have a script for all the games. So let's just go ahead and keep on rolling. For all of the comments, I'll eventually get to them. Appreciate everyone being in here. Danny, appreciate you, my guy. Salty Wings and Abs. I promise we'll get to all the games. Cowboys Lions is up though. Now on to Saturday for Lions Cowboys, and the Lions should really do a better job of reporting eligible before the play starts. And all jokes aside, losing a game like this is absolutely brutal. I had zero doubts that if they scored a touchdown on the final drive, that Man Campbell would go for 2 and try to win the game in regulation. I know this loss absolutely stinks for the Lions, but there were a lot of questions entering this game about their defense, and only allowing 20 points to the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium, where they were averaging 39.8 points per home game before this, is a huge win in itself. They allowed over 400 yards to Nick Mullins in Week 16, and I had questions entering this week. For Dallas, Dak and CD each played phenomenal, but I have concerns with this team, and I think Cowboys fans would acknowledge the concerns with head coach Mike McCarthy, especially when it comes down to do or die time. I have no concerns with the ability of this team, of course, but I very much worry that the coaches will fold when push comes to shove. All right, let's see what some of the comments are here. Jordan Love Masterclass. All right, let's keep it going here. All right, anyway, now on to Sunday, and we are starting in the Windy City to discuss Falcons-Bears. My big takeaway for the Falcons is, yes, the quarterbacks on this team are not good. We all know that. But we're 3 seasons into the Arthur Smith experiment, and I simply ask, are we any closer to winning a Super Bowl in Week 17 of 2023 than we were in January of 2021 when Arthur was hired? I don't think so, and I don't know how you don't move on from him at the end of the season. It's been disappointment after disappointment, and this 20-point loss kind of summarizes the Arthur Smith era. For the Bears, they are on the clock. Not only are they on the clock, but Justin Fields looks good in this game, and the Bears are going to have a big decision to make this offseason. Right now, we will focus on this game, but Ryan Poles' plan is looking good, and I actually really like what the Bears have going. Their 7-9 record doesn't look very good at the moment, but they will be a feisty team that could very easily make the playoffs next year. All right, let's take it. I can still hear the background music. Arthur Smith's got to be done. Let's see what other comments do we have here. 49ers blow. Script first heard. CD still went ham. CD did indeed go ham. All right, let's keep it going here. Like I said, guys, we are for anybody just joining, we're just reading the script or the script that we have for all games like we would in a normal recap. So that's kind of where we are, and we are down to the Bills-Patriots game. So we will get to the comments, I promise. But Bills-Patriots game is up. All right, now from Chicago to Western New York for Patriots-Bills, and for New England, this is pretty simple. You're not going to win a lot of games, especially against a playoff team on the road, when your first 6 possessions include 4 turnovers and 2 3-and-outs. I lost my place here. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, period. It's kind of a miracle in itself that New England only lost this game by 6 points, despite losing the turnover battle 4-1. The best thing that happened for the Patriots on Sunday was the Arizona Cardinals beating the Philadelphia Eagles. The best thing the Patriots can do this offseason is bring in an offensive-minded head coach and draft a quarterback with this gift from the Cardinals. For Buffalo, a win is a win, and the main message here is survive and advance. They can still take the division, which of course will come down to a Week 18 game between them and the Dolphins. There were certainly concerns with Josh's shoulder, but if I had to guess with the division on the line, Josh will do anything to play. This same Bills team beat the Fish by 28 points earlier in the year, and Buffalo is a pain in the ass for every other AFC team, and there's a very real chance they enter the postseason with 5 straight wins. All right, let's look at some of the comments here. First round exit, Casey's back. Tell them Chiefs are back. I got a question. You think Titans ruin Will Levis? We'll get to that. Anyway, next game. Here we go, boys. Next game. Let's see. Next up is Titans-Texans, and the summary of this game for the Titans is 6 sacks allowed and averaging 2.5 yards per carry. They had 53 rushing yards on 21 rushing attempts, and this year's been very atypical for the Titans, or not typical for them. We're used to them having big bruising offensive lines where they can pound the rock and be a true thorn in other teams' sides. 2019, of course, was a perfect example of that. But everything has fallen off for the Titans and their entire offensive line, really aside from Peter Skoronski, and they've been bad again aside from Peter. They need to address the offensive line in a big way this offseason, and for Houston, 9 wins a few months ago would have seemed unachievable, but here we are. A win for Houston over Tennessee is always big, and Texans fans always love winning over this franchise specifically. Will Anderson also had 2 sacks in this game, and quite frankly, I don't care what the Texans do in the postseason if they get there this year because of how successful it's been for them. All right, let's keep it going here, boys. Let's keep it going. And of course, repping Maryland, baby. There we go. Anyway, let's keep it going here. All right, let's go. Next game. Up to Indy for Raiders Colts, and yes, the Raiders lost this game, and in theory, this is a blemish on AP's record, but he's done a lot of good in his short time as their head coach. Not only that, but the roster the Raiders have fielded in 2023 is not very talented relative to the competition they're playing, and I think they are playing well above where they are talent-wise. A new quarterback and new offensive coordinator would go a long way for this team, but for the Colts, we bring the same thing up like we did with the Texans. Especially given their starting quarterback went down. Having a winning season is a huge accomplishment for this team, and I absolutely love Indy's future with head coach Shane Steichen. Like we just said with the Raiders, this team all year has played better than expected, and they're going to be a fun team to watch over the next few years. Shane, along with Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans, are all in the head coach of the year, or the coach of the year conversation. All right, let's get to some supers here. Here we go. I'm super disappointed in my Vikes this week. Skull. Me too, brother. Me too. We will eventually get to them. Anyway, I'm very disappointed too. Garrett, your microphone is huge. Why is that? So actually, I saw this comment a couple weeks ago. I saw this on Twitter. It had me laughing. Somebody said that my microphone is huge because I'm overcompensating for something. I'll let you kind of connect the dots there. But no, this is just the size, I guess, of the mic. I have another backup mic. Anyway, yeah, I have a backup mic, but yeah, I don't know why, but anyway, it's a standard, it's a blue snowball, so hopefully that answers your question. But Joseph, my guy, what's up? Anyway, so like I said, for anybody just joining, we're going through all the scripts. We just did the Colts-Raiders game, and after we do all of the scripts, because I have scripts for every single game, we will answer questions, we'll discuss the week more in depth, but right now this is just a standard weekly recap we're going over all the scripts for everything, just with no game highlights in the background. All right, here we go. Up to wait. Sorry, now from Indy to Jacksonville for Panthers Jags, and this was exactly what I did not want to see from the Panthers and Bryce Young after the first 30-point and 300-yard passing game from Bryce. Bryce threw for just 112 yards and threw an interception in this game and was also sacked 6 times. There have been low points for Carolina this year, but this was arguably the lowest. Not only was the play on the field horrible, but owner David Tepper was shown dumping his drink on a Jags fan in the middle of this loss. And I truly feel bad for Panthers fans, as this is the new Dan Snyder of the NFL. At least I think he is. I've never seen anything good written about this dude, and I think the Panthers have a long road ahead. Now, for the Jags, a 20-plus point win when your starting quarterback is out is always a good thing, and I've had my concerns with Trayvon Walker in the past, but he played good in this game. Him and Josh Allen combined for 5 sacks, and this was one of the most stress-free teams any team can have. All right, let's see here. How about them Ravens? We'll get to them. We will get to them. They certainly played their asses off. All right, let's see here. All right, let's see. Now up to MetLife for Rams-Giants, and this game was a lot more stressful for Rams fans. They would have liked entering the day. Kyron Williams continued his great year as he had over 100 total yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. Matt Stafford didn't play the best in this game, and even though the Rams won, there is a theory that, sometimes teams want to get a loss out of the way in the late regular season, just so they get that loss out before the postseason. One team that notably comes to mind is the 2019 Ravens, how they started the year off 2-2, then they won 12 straight games, and of course, after going 14-2, what'd they do? They lost in the divisional round. So even though the Rams, they didn't lose this game, there is a theory that, playing a bad game and getting that out before the postseason is beneficial. So that's kind of my takeaway for the Rams in this game. But for the Giants, guys, the teams they've fielded this year haven't been good. And if there's anything positive out of this, players give their absolute everything under Brian Daboll, and even in 2022, the roster wasn't great either. But I think the Giants long-term will be fine, but it, of course, starts with acquiring more talent. All right, let's go here. All right, down to Landover for 49ers Commanders, and with this win and a few other things, the 49ers are the number 1 seed in the NFC. This is obviously huge for San Francisco, as getting as healthy as you can at this point in the season is huge for anybody, and if they want, they can rest their starters for pretty much 3 weeks. Personally, if I were in this situation, I'm a big fan and I'm a big advocate of, playing guys like a quarter and a half, and then resting. I don't like guys going 3 weeks cold turkey. It just gets them out of rhythm. Not a big fan of that. But that is big that San Francisco has the opportunity to do that. For the Commanders, this was a win-win. You're 1 game closer to Ron being out as the head coach, and the Cardinals won against the Eagles. We will dive into the Commanders a lot this offseason, but like we said with the Giants, the main goal for this team is to acquire talent. That's it. Nobody thought this team would have beat the 49ers, and not surprisingly, they didn't. All right, what other comments do we have here? Like I said, we're just rolling right through the games. We actually only have a couple games left, so we're just going to get through all the games, and then we're going to respond to a lot of comments here. So that's what we're doing now. And speaking of that, Saints-Bucks is up, and this was a great team and emphasis on team win for the Saints because of how this happened. Derek Carr played solid in this game and did what was required, and the Saints managed to put up 23 points, and New Orleans won the turnover battle 4-0. Yes, it's going to be tough to make the postseason, but the main message here is control what you can control. It very well may be too little too late, but this was a very solid win for the Saints. Now, on the other side of this was a bad loss for Tampa. Every offensive possession, guys, I was screaming for them to at least give Mike Evans, the future Hall of Famer, a chance, and it was seemingly run the ball to Rachaad White or check it down, just time and time again. It was so frustrating watching this. They had a touchdown late in this game to Chris Godwin, but this game was dominated by New Orleans. There was also a point in this game where Tampa was down 17-0. They had a 6-play drive while down 17 points in the second half and started out with like 4 straight runs. It was just a lot of like, what are we doing here, guys? I wasn't the biggest fan of the Bucs in this game. And like I said, credit to the Saints for winning this. Now, for everyone out here that's wondering, up to Charm City for Dolphins-Ravens, and this was a game the Ravens had circled on their calendar for quite some time. Miami went into Baltimore in Week 2 of 2022 and put up 42 points, and Baltimore wanted to ensure they got their revenge in this game. And they did, to the tune of 56 points. Lamar threw for over... Let me start that over. We're just going to pretend that part didn't happen. Lamar threw for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns and all but secured his second MVP. The Ravens also secured the number 1 seed, and guys, like we said with the 49ers, they have the opportunity to rest for up to 3 weeks, which is obviously huge, especially in this conference, and especially with the Ravens needing to get guys healthy. Now, for Miami, this was obviously a tough loss. Oh, but by the way, I wanted to backtrack one point. The Ravens at this point would be my pick entering Week 18 to win the Super Bowl. Now, for Miami, this loss is obviously a tough one, but to make matters worse, next week is for the division against the Bills, and to make matters worse, Bradley Chubb got hurt in this game, which could be a brutal loss for them. It is believed to be, though not confirmed, a torn ACL. Again, believed, not confirmed at the time of this live. And Jalen Phillips is already gone for the year. So with 2 pass rushers down for the year in this conference, unless they can really get into a track meet and let Tyreek and Jalen loose, I mean, guys, I think this team is a divisional round exit at maximum. I have a lot of concerns with the Dolphins after this game. But we are up I-95 to Philly for Cardinals-Eagles, and the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies in the playoffs this year, and now the Cardinals beat the Eagles in late December, with heavy playoff implications for the Birds. I know some Cardinals fans probably wanted to lose this game, but after beating the Eagles in Philly, they can also acknowledge how good this win felt at the time. This team ran for over 220 yards in this game, and this was a statement loss for the Eagles. By the way, good for Jonathan Gannon to get this win against his former team. As you know, this meant a lot to him. Now, for the Eagles, the sequence that best described this game was quarterback draw, wide receiver screen, in which Devonta Smith gets hurt, kick a field goal, then give up a defensive touchdown to lose. Not only that, but the Cardinals didn't punt once in this game. And again, I repeat that. The 3-12 Cardinals went into Philly and did not punt once in this game. Guys, I'd be very surprised if the Eagles get past the divisional round at this point, and I have a lot of concerns with them for the rest of 2023. All right, let's see. Let's read some of the comments. Only got time to hop on and say hi, but Happy New Year's. Appreciate that. Cerberus, appreciate it. Like I said, we're just going through some comments here and there. Right now, we have all but a couple games done. So like I said, guys, let's keep it rolling. We have 4 games to recap and then a lot of Q&A. So for everybody that's watching this at home, I hope you guys are enjoying the structure to this recap more than you did last week, which was admittedly a little out of structure, but let's keep on rolling here. All right, let's see here. All right, to the 4 o'clock games we go, and the first game we will discuss is Chargers-Broncos. There shouldn't be a lot expected when Easton Stick is starting on the road, and especially when Keenan and, of course, Mike Williams are both out. This was as close to a tank game as you'll see in the NFL, as both teams are out of it, and this was a game that quite literally Easton Stick versus Jarrett Stidham were the 2 starting quarterbacks. I really can't wait to dive into offseason content for the Chargers, as they are a very fun team to project and discuss. But one thing I think the Chargers locker room may be thinking is, who's got it better than us? I'll leave you guys to figure out what that means. Now, for Denver, this was a very weird week with everything that went on, especially around Russ and the Russ contract. But I guess you can say a win is a win here. I mean, they're out of the playoffs now, but Denver will have the opportunity in Week 18 to play for a winning record for the first time since 2016. It's pretty crazy with everything that's taken place over the course of the Broncos season, most notably the 70-point game against the Dolphins, that they are, in fact, in a position to play for a winning record. All right, let's see here. What do we make of Brian Daboll? I like him. I think he's the guy. I actually like Daboll a lot. All right, let's keep it going here. Let's keep it going, guys. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling here. All right. We have 2 games left. Well, then the Packers-Vikings. 2 script games left. Now up to the Pacific Northwest, where the Steelers have secured a winning season for the 17th year in a row. All right, 17th year in a row as they beat the Seahawks by a score of 30-23. I know this is a very cliche comment, but get George Pickens the ball and don't overthink it. Not only that, but this was the most complete game, offensively speaking, the Pittsburgh Steelers have played in the last few years, period. Obviously, they never played any game to this level during the Matt Canada era, let alone have nearly 500 yards of offense, as they finished with 468 in Week 17. Also, I did want to shout out Najee Harris for getting bumped into by a Seahawks player right into a ref, and specifically went out of his way to make sure he was all right. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the game, as much as I wanted to acknowledge that, and credit to any other player that does that too. I think that's actually really cool when guys do that. But for Seattle, guys, this year has been very disappointing all around. The running defense was awful, again, and that's the theme of the Seahawks over the past 2 years. Not only that, but the tackling for Seattle in this game was truly atrocious. PFF doesn't have their stats out yet for this game, but I will be eager to see just how many tackles were missed in this game, because it was that bad. All right, in your opinion, who would be the best OC and DC for the Eagles next year? I got to be honest, I don't have like a guy off the top of my head. I mean, I'm thinking like maybe like a quarterback's coach from like the Dolphins. Like I want to say that's Darrell Bevell. Darrell Bevell's been around the block a couple times. That's one guy that will probably get a promotion somewhere. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't have like that's a question that would have to dive into a lot of coaching staffs and dive into a lot. So we will go up to the final game, before the Packers-Vikings. Now for Bengals-Chiefs. This game was, of course, supposed to be Burrow Mahomes for potentially the AFC number 1 seed on New Year's Eve. With all the injuries the league has sustained this year, unfortunately, including Burrow, that's not what this game was. The Bengals' offensive line didn't miss a beat. They would have if Burrow was playing, as Jake Browning was sacked 6 times. And for the 3rd offseason in the Joe Burrow era and the 3rd time in a row, it's pretty simple what their goal is in the next few months, guys. Protect Joe Burrow. You just invested nearly $300 million in Burrow, and you have to protect him, period. That is your only goal. For Kansas City, they won the AFC West for the 8th year in a row, and the Chiefs eliminated both the Broncos and Bengals in one day, which is always a win-win for them. The positive spin for Kansas City is how much postseason experience they have compared to the other AFC teams, but what scares me is them playing against the Ravens, especially on the road. Harrison Butker was 6 for 6 in this game, and I don't want to overreact and say the Chiefs are Super Bowl bound because of a win over the Jake Browning Bengals, but this was a good team win for them. All right, guys. That is all of the script that we have. So, guys, let's fire away with the questions. Hopefully, for everyone that's watching at home, now we're just in a straight-up Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed. But let's go, guys. What questions do we have? By the way, we're 20 minutes away from the New Year's. Let's go here. Vikings. Let's just go Vikings Packers real quick. That was just bad all around. Jaren Hall clearly not the answer. I didn't have high hopes going in. I didn't think we were going to put up 30 points against the Packers. But that was even worse than I expected. And then Chris Collinsworth I'm just not the biggest fan of Chris Collinsworth at times. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Vikings fans know where I'm coming from. But yeah, not a good loss. Not a good loss. It was just very ugly all around. But let's go ahead and get to some Q&As here. Thoughts on Kevin O'Connell? I like KOC a lot. I mean, when you're down to your fourth quarterback, the reality is you're not going to win a Super Bowl 99.9% of the time. So to expect a fourth quarterback and a fifth-round rookie to come in, save the day, win us 2 division games at the end of the year was very lofty expectations. So KOC himself is fine, but guys, when the quarterbacks play, it's just that bad. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of games, period. So I think KOC is fine. All right, let's see here. All right, from Zenith, here we go. Are there any surprise teams that you think could be drafting a new quarterback that many are not talking about? I want to pull up some standings right now so I can actually have all the teams in front of me. Of course, some teams that I think about Vikings, Bears. Let me pull up some teams here. Maybe the Cowboys to replace Dak. No, I'm kidding, of course. Raiders will be in there. Broncos, of course. Surprise, maybe the Saints, just because of the whole Derek Carr situation. Maybe they want to try and get a guy in a cheap contract. But we'll dive into a lot of this offseason. So let's keep it going here. We got a super chat from the King. Appreciate it, King. All right, and he says, what do you think about extending Kirk Cousins for 2 years, drafting Quinn Ewers next year, and letting him sit behind and learn from Cousins? So, admittedly, I'm not the biggest Quinn Ewers guy. Not to say Quinn is bad, of course, because I don't think he's bad. But if I were to go this route, I got to be honest, I think I would be all for, guys, you have to get your quarterback in today's NFL. So, Caleb and Drake are obviously going to be out. They're going to be gone with the top 2 picks, at least you would presume, or top 3 picks at worst, if anybody wants to say the Bears aren't taking him, whatever. Top 3 picks, they'll be gone. Jaden Daniels, if you trade 3 first-round picks, I would honestly rather go that route and have him sit behind Kirk than I would Quinn Ewers. But extending Kirk Cousins for 2 years and drafting any guy, not just specifically Quinn, I'm fine with, and I actually encourage that. Kirk is, he'll be 36 next year. He's coming off a torn Achilles. The only concern that I have with the Vikings is, not with the Vikings rather, but the Kirk situation is teams that, like the Falcons that are maybe not necessarily the Giants because they're already paying DJ $40 million. But the Falcons, for example, maybe the Steelers, hey, look, we're in a Super Bowl window. We need to pay them now. We need results now. That type of situation. And the Steelers are probably a bad example, but no, I like that idea a lot, to answer your question. All right. My guy, Jason, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate it, Jason. Hopefully you have a good New Year, brother. Is Mason Rudolph QB1 putting up 2 30-plus point games and 400-plus yards of offense? Do you think he can take Kenny's job? All right. So, to answer this, I don't want to overreact and say that he for sure is the quarterback 1. I made a video a couple months ago, and it was actually reacting to a comment that said Josh Dobbs is the next guy up. And I didn't actually say that. I mean, the video of that was a title because it was a your take, not mine. So I was reacting to a guy's take, and people will still comment on that and say, you're a clown. How could you think this about Josh Dobbs? So I don't want to overreact and say that Mason is the quarterback 1. However, I want to see another game from him. And at minimum, I think he can take Kenny's job. But like I said, that whole just anointing or, putting somebody at quarterback 1 always scares me. But the potential is definitely there, and the Steelers have flat out looked a lot better with Mason as their quarterback. So I also don't know, and this might work a little bit against Mason, But what if next week the Ravens just kind of have, like, not their practice squad, of course, but just all second stringers out there? So I hope for Mason's sake that he plays well next week, because obviously, you know, with the whole helmet thing with Mason a couple years ago with Myles Garrett, that's kind of what people think of, and he's played really well over the past few weeks. So I think he can take Kenny's job, honestly, but I'm not ready to anoint him QB1. But Kenny has never in 2023, Kenny really didn't impress me, and he really didn't, you know, get off to he didn't have the year that I thought he was going to have. All right, $100 to shave an eyebrow is a pretty popular comment. I'm not going to shave an eyebrow, guys, just being honest. All right, let's see here. Who do you think the first head coach is getting fired after Week 18? This is pretty simple, pretty easy. I've thought this for weeks now. And one guy that I think is gone, I think he's been gone, is Ron Rivera. I mean, I think that is the easiest, like just the easiest slam dunk answer that I can possibly give. And I actually think it's kind of funny that the Commanders are basically making him just wallow in his own just misery until Week 18, till they can fire him. Like they didn't say, hey Ron, we're paying you, you know, whatever, $5, $6, $10 million to be the head coach. And guess what, Ron, we're going to we'll give you 6 weeks off early so you can get an extra vacation in November. No, we're going to make you coach this team till the end. Honestly, I kind of like that. I think that's kind of a power move, and I actually really respect that from the Commanders' part. But to answer that question, Ron Rivera. If Green Bay makes the playoffs, what is their ceiling? I mean, like, I know they just played good, and I know if you watch that game, Chris Collinsworth was just making Jordan Love, he compared Jordan Love to Brett Favre 4 times in the first quarter alone. So, I mean, believe it or not, I don't think Jordan Love is the next Brett Favre. I don't think he's going to be a 3-time league MVP and a future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, personally. But I think it would be a division round exit. Let's go here. Vikings could get Bo Nix or Michael Penix. I like Michael Penix a lot. He is my favorite quarterback in the draft. Favorite is different than number 1 ranked. Example, Kirk Cousins is probably my favorite quarterback. I don't think he's the best, so just before anybody starts typing that out, just to let you know, Michael Penix is my favorite quarterback in the draft. Love him. I would love that if he were on the Vikings. This is from Hedge Locked. Here we go. All right, let's see here. Life the Patriots. If you ran the Patriots, what are your moves? First off, get rid of Bill. Bill, I don't think is the answer. Like long term, I mean, guys, he's in his 70s now. He's not a good GM. We've seen this over the past couple years, or several years really, in terms of how he builds the roster. And I want to pull up the Patriots draft picks because I actually did this in a video last week. And it's terrible. Like, it is terrible over the past 10 years. So I want to go ahead and read some of these off here. Because it's bad, guys. Here we go. From 2014, which was like the start of just the bad Bill Belichick GM. Dominique Easley, Malcolm Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Sony Michel, N'Keal Harry, Mac Jones, Cole Strange, and Christian Gonzalez. Now, to be fair, I do think Christian Gonzalez will be a very good player. But the other ones, guys, it's pretty inexcusable. So I would get rid of Bill. I would try to bring in an offensive-minded head coach, and I think that is the long-term answer for the Patriots. Offensive-minded head coach, and now that the Cardinals gave you a New Year's gift, a little belated Christmas gift, hopefully you get a quarterback. Can the Eagles fire Brian Johnson? I mean, can they? Yes. Will they? No, not at this point in the year. Penix is the best in the draft, hands down. That's a very hot take. I like Michael a lot. All right, let's see here. Wait. Hedgelock said if you're 8. I don't know what. Anyway. If you're 8. Anyway. Let's keep it going here. Hedgelock, let me know what you're trying to say, brother. Let me know what you're trying to say. Is MHJ the number 1 overall pick now? Honestly, I don't hate it. But I know this is a hot take, and I know Bears fans really they don't like when I say this. They get a little riled up. I was really surprised at the pushback a couple weeks ago when I made this video. But I would personally draft Caleb Williams, and I would personally draft either Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze if possible with the second first-round pick, and then have a offense with presumably a guy like Brian Johnson, and have Ben Johnson, excuse me. It's late, guys. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. You get where I'm going. So I would personally do that. But I know there's going to be people that want to have Justin Fields, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, and then I don't know what they would do with the other first-round pick. I'm guessing offensive line, but if the value's there, of course. But the thing with Justin Fields and what scares me is you have to factor in the contract. Like, Justin Fields is not going to take a little $12 million contract, a little $15 million contract. And not that that's little, of course. But he's going to want 35 or 40 plus. So do you take Caleb Williams on a discount and hope he pans out, or do you take Justin Fields and hope he still elevates his game? So I would personally take Caleb Williams, but that's just me. Do I think the Lions are capable of making it to the NFC Championship? Basically, can they? Yes. Will they? I have my concerns. If they go to Dallas in the postseason, I know they just played great, but I don't know, guys. Dallas and the Lions in the postseason would be a very fun game. But to answer the question, yes, they can. Will they? Of course, is something else. But I do think they would lose to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. All right. Let's see here. From AA_AA. What do you think the Chiefs' ceiling is this year? I would say at this point in time, AFC Championship game exit would be their ceiling at this point in time, that is best case, everything scenario, everything going in their favor. And I think that also applies to the Lions, to the person that just asked that. Do the Hawks fire Pete Carroll? I would say no. And I would just, I don't think they would fire him just because I think it'd be kind of like a legacy thing with Belichick, where I think it would be hey, Pete, you can mutually leave, or that type of thing, where it's we're not gonna fire you, but Pete, buddy, you got a week before we actually announce that you're stepping down, that type of thing. So to answer that question, I don't think that would happen for that. What do the Steelers do this year in draft? I really hate to give this cliche of an answer, but it's going to depend how the board plays out. Offensive line would not be bad for them, and quarterback wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them either. Oh, by the way, of course, corner. You have to mention corner. Corner, 100%. Just depends how the board's going to play out there. I wouldn't want the Steelers taking a mid-second round corner if they have the 15th overall pick or 18th or whatever it is. You get what I'm saying. Just the value has to align. But corner definitely for the Steelers too. All right, here we go. Jason, appreciate it here. Who do you think wins Defensive Player of the Year? I think it's Watt. Personally, he leads most categories for pass rushers, and I'm not sure what the argument is against him. I feel like he isn't getting love at all. All right, so to answer this question, I would personally go Myles Garrett, just because, this is more from a tape breakdown where I watch Myles at times, and there's offensive linemen that I don't want to say are afraid of him, because that's very, strong to say another offensive lineman's afraid of a guy, but there's times where they don't want anything to do with him, and it's pretty clear. But the thing is TJ also has a very, very good Robin Hood to his Batman and Alex Highsmith, and even Cam Hayward for that matter when Cam plays. And I understand where you're saying where he's not getting the love, but it's because, Myles, Za'Darius runs hot and cold, where Highsmith, I think, is a really underrated player. Cam is also a pretty solid player, where TJ kind of has that Joe Burrow situation with Jamar and T. Higgins and even Tyler Boyd around him as a fellow pass rusher, where Myles is kind of Mahomes this year, where he doesn't have, of course Mahomes has Kelsey, but Myles is making it happen a lot of the time. So that would be my pick. Also, of course, Michael Parsons has to be mentioned in there too. But those are the top three, but I personally think it should be Myles. But what I will say is, if you are a TJ Watt fan, you are a Steelers fan, I'm never going to say, oh, man, you can't think that your guy deserves it, because if you think that, go for it. But personally, for me, you're asking, I think it should be Myles. All right, Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Steelers. I would like that fit a lot. What good team do you think will be bad next year? Again, I like pulling up teams, all the records whenever somebody asks a question like that. So let me go ahead and pull this up. What good team do I the thing is hypothetically, let's go ahead and just do this here. Okay, so if and I'm only saying this I'm not gonna go there. I'll just say this: if a good quarterback goes down, like we saw with the Jets this year, that's going to inevitably tank a season, like we saw with the Jets, like we've seen with the Bengals. So with the 17 games, I don't want to get into projecting this guy's going to go down or that guy's going to go down. But strictly from a good team to a bad team, maybe the Browns, but that's only because if they run it back with Deshaun, who I don't think Deshaun is proven that he's worth a $230 million contract. So maybe the Browns would be the answer to that, because they're Deshaun as a Brown has quite literally never played at the level that we've seen Flacco over the past 4 games. So they're actually going to have some decisions to make this offseason as well. The Fanatic, appreciate the first super. Really appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Guys, we are approaching New Year's, so hopefully everyone in here stays in till New Year's, guys. I know some of you guys, like my guy Joseph, for example, is not a East Coast guy. I am an East Coast guy, so we're only a little over 5 minutes from New Year's. All right, let's see here. Current rate. Here's a good question. And like I said, we're gonna get to all the questions here. What is your current take on the Bengals' future? Yeah, they kind of it's a little more concerning, I think, than people realize. Yeah, they have to pay Jamar, they have to pay T, or they have to opt to trade T, or tag and trade is what that's referred to as, is what they would do. So like the Bengals are still going to be good in 2024. I mean, assuming everyone stays healthy, of course. You can't predict injuries and everything along those lines. But after that, it's a little murky, and that's kind of where the Chiefs are running into now, because and the Bills for that matter too, where they've gone through this stretch where, once you have those top guys, in the Bills' case, Josh, in the Chiefs' case, Patrick, in the Bengals' case, Joe and Jamar and Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, you have to replace those guys. And the pass rushers for Cincinnati are not going to be young forever. That's kind of what concerns me. They're not going to be on like the not like $35 million contracts per year. So that part kind of concerns me with the Bengals in terms of their future. They, of course, can win the Super Bowl, but to think that the Bengals are, going to be like, top 13, 14 win team for the next 10 years, I would personally disagree. Let's see here. And Joseph summarizes it perfectly. They are in their Super Bowl window. They need to capitalize. Like 2024, it has to be a Super Bowl title for them. 2025 worries me, like for them, for their sake. Will Jim Harbaugh return to the NFL? And if so, who hires him? I would say the Chargers. I mean, you have Justin Herbert. You have you have everything that you would want. You have a big market for Jim. Jim has a little bit of an ego on him. He'd be playing in the AFC, which is the same conference that his brother coaches in. And guys, I know there's a lot of people watching right now that have siblings, but if you lost in the Super Bowl as a head coach to your brother, I mean, you're going to bed almost every night thinking about that. Even with the success Jim has had at Michigan, you're going to bed thinking, man, like my brother beat me on the biggest stage, over 10 years ago. But there's no doubt Jim still thinks about that. Jim, I would be surprised if he doesn't go back to the NFL this year, strictly because Michigan wants to put him in a little like clause where he can't entertain offers for 5 years. And now the NIL is a completely different discussion, and that's, a whole other branch. But I think Jim's going to go back this year, especially with the Chargers opening, and especially given that he's going to get a great quarterback to work with. And also, I am a Justin Herbert fan, so I hope he saves my guy. All right, let's see here. Chargers would be perfect. The Chiefs are weak without Travis Kelce going off and retiring. Exactly. I don't think the Chiefs are weak, but I get what you're saying. Like the Chargers are a perfect situation for him. It hurts to be a Vikings fan. I completely agree. I agree with you. It does hurt. That's kind of where we are. Thoughts on the Browns playoffs hopes? I would say I really hope they play the Ravens in the AFC divisional round, but I think they're a divisional round exit maximum. If they can, I don't know how the seeding would play out, but as long as if they don't run into Buffalo or Baltimore in the first two rounds, I think they can beat Kansas City. And I think they could beat the AFC South team, but I don't know how the seedings are going to play out off the top of my head. But if they could beat the AFC South and they could beat the Chiefs, but I don't think they would play those two teams in the first two rounds. So I think that would very much hurt the Browns. So that's I think they're a divisional round exit. Do I think Joe Barry's getting fired? I would like to think so. That's kind of a whole concern with the Packers fan base and everything. They want Jim, or not Jim. They want Joe Barry gone, especially with how he gave up 30 points to the Panthers and 300 yards to Bryce Young. I mean, I get it, especially with everything else that's going on this year. So I think this is a good chance. 2024 is here. We got a couple minutes. 2 minutes, right? Yeah, 2 minutes till 2024. All right, my guy, let's see. Joseph, he says, would you have just stuck with Dobbs or Mullins? Vikings musical chairs at quarterback didn't help. So to address this, you are 100% correct. The musical chairs didn't help. I would not have stuck with Josh Dobbs. That was painful. The Chiefs-Bills game was going on during the Raiders-Vikings game, and I would recommend going to just watch a couple minutes of the Vikings-Raiders highlights game, especially on offense, and you'll understand what it was like with Dobbs out there after the magic wore off pretty quick. I wanted to see what Jaron had as a 5th round pick. Because you drafted him for a reason. You drafted him to be an NFL quarterback, whether that's a backup or a developmental guy. You drafted him for a reason. So I wanted to see that. We saw that. Not the answer. Now, for Week 18, I would personally go with Nick Mullins, but that's just me. No, but I do agree with the musical chair certainly didn't help. All right, let's see here. All right, how was it watching the Minneapolis Miracle as a Vikings fan? I mean, dude, I remember, like, I screamed, Stephon, get out of bounds, because, like, obviously from the TV angle, you couldn't see, like, that there was nobody behind him. And then when he did, and I kind of just put my hands on my head like this, and my jaw just dropped, and I kind of just stood there in, like, a movie, and it was just, like, time paused for a second, and it was just, like, holy, like, we just won this game. So it was the best experience I will probably ever have as a fan. But guys, Happy New Year's. It is 2024. I gotta let the Twitter world know it is Happy New Year's. So, yeah, that's, guys, it's New Year's. Very thankful for everyone in here. I really appreciate you guys coming through, spending New Year's with your boy. I would love nothing more than spending New Year's with you guys. So, hopefully everyone's off to a happy 2024. It is New Year's, guys, 2024. Personal goal. If anybody, by the way, guys, I am into a little, like, personal self-development. My goal personally, 200K subs by the end of the year. If you have a personal goal next year, whether it's weight loss, graduate college, graduate high school, whatever the case may be, get a promotion at work, drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments, guys. My personal goal, like I said, 200K subs by the end of the year. If you have any goals this year, drop them. I'm not going to, like, read them off or anything, but, like, I'll read them in my head. So drop any, if you guys have any goals, let's drop them. All right, let's see here. Is CeeDee Lamb as talented as Justin Jefferson? I don't think he's as talented, but I think he's a very, very good receiver. And somebody asked earlier if he's a top 5 receiver, and I definitely think CeeDee is a top 5 receiver. So yes, definitely. All right, let's see here. Do I think Matt Patricia should be a play caller? I personally do not. I think that's the results kind of speak for themselves. All right, cheers, homie. Keep it up. Love the work you put in. It's appreciated. Yeah, likewise, man. Appreciate the support. I mean, guys, it quite literally could not be done without you guys. So, like I said, I appreciate the support beyond measure. Truly beyond measure. Sorry, I'm not going to read any of these out loud. But no, I love the personal goals. Love dropping them. What's next for the Bucs? I mean, I think you have, like, I said this at the beginning of the, or not the beginning of the year, but they started out 3-1, and then they went like 1-5 in their next 6 games, so they were like 4-6 at a point. I mean, I think you have to fire Todd Bowles. I don't think they're ever going to do anything with Todd Bowles, and I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, I think they're going to give Baker an extension. I know today wasn't pretty for Baker, but I think you have to move on from him. All right, let's see here. Be under 15% body fat. Let's go. Love that one. I'm trying to get to 10, so I definitely respect that. Let's see here. Bills to the Super Bowl. I could definitely see it. I could definitely see that. All right, what good team do you think? What team do you think could be unexpectedly good next year? So the thing is like any team that drafts a quarterback is going to be, it's going to be like. The Patriots, for example, if they draft a quarterback, it's always going to be like, oh man, like could they be this year's Texans like that? So with the Texans' success this year, that's the only thing I don't want to say I'm not going to like is not like really like, but the comparisons is what I'm not going to like. So any team that drafts a quarterback, it's going to be, oh man, like are they the 2024 Texans? With C.J. Stroud, and it's like C.J. Stroud's rookie year was such an outlier in itself that I don't really like the comparisons that are going to happen. But what team that could be good next year? I think the Cardinals could be, honestly, especially with a full Kyler healthy. Hopefully Marvin Harrison Jr. Hopefully they didn't win out of him today. So I could see the Cardinals. All right, let's see here. All right, C.J. Stroud was an anomaly. Perfect. Good call there, Salvala. Good call. All right, don't know you all the time, but Happy New Year, indeed. Who wins the AFC South? I think the Jags do. Just the fact that they're playing the Titans, I think the Jags will. All right, let's see here. What do you think about people saying the Bears missed on C.J. Stroud? I don't really. I haven't heard that a lot personally. Obviously, like you hear a lot more about another quarterback that they missed on back in 2017. Not to kind of rub salt into the wound, even though I just did. But no, I really haven't heard that. I mean, they're gonna be fine, and like with the way that Eberflus has the defense playing, they are gonna keep Eberflus. But if the Bears or anybody, for even the Panthers, if they would have known CJ was gonna be this good right out of the gate, the Bears would have taken CJ if they knew he was gonna be that good. So I don't really hold that against them. Let's see here. It hurts to be a Bengals fan. I mean, it's kind of like a Vikings fan. Yeah, I mean, you could say it hurts. Your team is just injured. It's not fun. Let's see here. The New York Giants are undefeated this year. Hey, the Vikings are too, baby. Let's go. Good call. I love the positivity there. The Vikings undefeated in 2024. The Packers kicked their ass in 2023. Love that, Cameron. Good call. Good call out there. All right. Why isn't Bryce Young's good play translated to the NFL? I will personally do a breakdown on this. I don't know if I'll get to this post-draft, but I'm going to get into a Bryce Young breakdown, a Will Levis breakdown. I mean, see, like a lot of other YouTubers have done CJ Stroud, so I don't really think there's a need for me to do a CJ Stroud breakdown. But Bryce and Will Levis specifically, I will do both of those. They haven't had help at all. So to answer that question, Bryce Young, when you are given so little time and when you are under duress all the time, along with not great weapons, it's going to translate to not good quarterback play. It's going to translate to, not good for a rookie quarterback, especially that's already undersized. So that's why Bryce is not translated yet. I still believe in Bryce. I like Bryce a lot. All right, let's see here. All right, let's see. Who do you think wins the national championship this year? Good question. I think it's Alabama. Honestly, I think Nick's going to get one more. I really think Nick is going to get one more championship. That's just me. That's kind of where I stand on that one. All right, let's see here. Somebody asked about the Eagles. Okay, so why do you think the Eagles have fallen off? A lot of it's just like they don't run the ball great, consistently at least. They don't have really many explosive runs. They also like to target the numbers. And Brian Johnson, it's like I said, there was one perfect example today where they had 1st and 20. They got behind the sticks, and they were shown a bit of adversity. And they had a quarterback draw for a guy they just paid $250 million for, which I'm not opposed to the quarterback draw, but I am kind of opposed to a quarterback draw when you just paid your guy $250 million. They ran a quarterback draw. I think it was actually back-to-back quarterback draws. We discussed this earlier in the live. And then they ran a wide receiver screen, and that was your play calls against a team that's 3-12. So it's like whenever they're shown a little bit of adversity, it's like, oh man, we're a deer in headlights, and we can't really fight through it. So that's kind of like why the Eagles have regressed. Like they get the deer in headlights, and then it's just like we're done. And that's. I hope that answers your question. Justin Fields' thoughts. Man, this is a complicated situation. I don't think there's any easy way to answer this. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. Personally, I would try and move on from Fields and try and sell at the highest point. Whether Justin becomes a future Pro Bowler and proves me wrong and makes me look like an idiot, I'll be able to live with that. But I'm also not the one making the decision with my family's livelihood on the line. But I would personally try and sell Justin Fields. Falcons, Steelers will be teams that will be interested this offseason, and I would try and sell at the highest point, but that's just me. Let's see here. I'll be rooting for Penix. Me too. Happy New Year, y'all. Bills won for my birthday. Concerning, but ready for next week. So happy birthday, Rex. Hope you have a good one. And good congratulations on the win. All right, let's keep it going here. All right, let's see here. Who is the future quarterback for the Broncos? Man, I don't have an answer for this right now. I can't imagine they don't take a quarterback in the first round. Whether they give up, another, multiple first round pick package to go get their quarterback, I don't know that part. But it's going to be a guy. I can't imagine that it's not a collegiate quarterback right now. That's just me. How many games do you think a Justin Fields-led Falcons team would win next season? I would say, they won 7 this year with really just horrible quarterback play. It's hard to imagine at least not 9 or 10. So I would say at least 9, if not 10. It could even be 11. It could even be 11 or 12 for that matter. But Fields would complement that Falcons team so much, and I would really love a Justin Fields-led Falcons team. And there was actually, I'm pretty sure I mocked the Falcons getting Justin Fields at 4 back in 2021. I had to have at some point. So I'm pretty sure about that. By the way, I'm sorry about the Vikings. That's all good, Brian. I appreciate it. I'm used to it. And honestly, since I started, doing this as full-time, my fandom for the Vikings has definitely, gone down. It just, when you cover, 32 teams versus, passionately going for one, it just inevitably goes down a little bit. Still a Vikings fan, of course, but I'm just used to it. It is what it is. All right. Has Hurts peaked? I don't want to. I would say no. It's he's a very, very good player, MVP candidate when healthy, and when everything's going right. I don't think he's peaked. I think he can definitely get back to 2022 Hurts. Could Russ go back to the Seahawks, or is it just me? No, he definitely could. He definitely could. You are 100% right about that. He definitely could go back to the Seahawks. All right, let's see here. My guy, Happy New Year. I've been watching your channel for the past year. Love you, bro. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Like I said, could literally not be done without your guys' support. So there's a reason I finished every video with love you guys, because it, again, could not be done without your guys' support. Let's see here. Where do you think Russ lands? I think there's honestly a chance he goes back to Seattle. I mean, I know that's been talked about. And by the way, Henry that asked that question also said definitely not Minnesota. I completely agree. I don't think he's going to Minnesota. But the odds makers put that one out, that Minnesota was the landing favorite for Russ. I didn't quite get that one. I didn't really understand that at all, actually. Like there's times where like they make sense, you know, like okay, like I could see this happening, but the Vikings get Minnesota, or the Vikings get Russ? No. All right. Always rocking the like drink. Staying hydrated. Of course, we got to stay hydrated. We got to stay hydrated, guys. I've been talking nonstop for 50 minutes. We definitely got to stay hydrated. Also, fun fact, I usually, after like lives, I usually go take a tablespoon of honey just to, you know, soothe the talking for that long. So definitely we're staying hydrated. All right, here we go. All right, this is actually a really good question. This is a really good question from the King Supervan. I appreciate the super brother. And he says, would you be willing to do a video on certain players' careers such as Brett Favre, Randy Moss, Peyton Manning, and rank them 1 through 10? All right. So, to be completely honest with you, I would love to do that. However, and there's always going to be a however, this is going to be more of like a podcast thing that I would like to do in like the summer, where we just, you know, discuss like guys' careers and everything like this. But also from a footage standpoint, it's really hard to find footage of like Brett Favre and Randy, like aside from like just the standard highlights where it would just be me talking over a highlight reel. I wouldn't want to do that personally. I mean, I would love like the content itself. And like I said, I eventually, you know, with the podcast that is starting after the new year, I would love to do content like that. And I would definitely be into, into doing videos like that, but I would not personally do a video like that on the channel. Just because it's from a footage standpoint, it's really difficult, just to, you know, go find highlights and then everything like that. So I would not personally do that on the channel. But I would on the podcast. And also on the podcast, I will be setting up an email where people can drop hot takes. It's going to be like me responding to hot takes at the end of every pod. So there's going to be like 2 or 3 a pod where I respond to hot takes. And so a little spoiler. All right, let's see here. Build around Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I would still probably go Trevor. But I don't think that's a bad question. All right, would love to see more general history on the channel as much as we can. No, I get it, man, but like it's just the footage standpoint. Like the NFL, like I wish that if there was all 2020, if there was all 22, which is the footage that we use in normal videos, if there was all 22 available to the public from like the mid 90s, I would 100% be like, hey man, like, you know, this just any content, any concept you can imagine, I would do, and I would be down for, but it's just not available. Let's see. I drink 8 to 10 gallons of water weekly. That's what's up. I make it my own, never tap. So you make your own water. I feel like I misunderstood that, but anyway, we'll keep going. Let's see. There were some other questions that I actually wanted to get into. Do you think Kirk Cousins could have been MVP? 100%. Yes, if he not got hurt. Yes, with the way Kirk was playing, 100%. How do the Steelers fix Tomlin? I don't think they do. I mean, it's just like, yeah, we're going to win 9 games. Yeah, we're probably going to lose in the playoffs again. We haven't won a playoff game since 2016, but let's keep running it back with Mike Tomlin. I'm out on Mike Tomlin. I really think that he should be just let go. I mean, like the last time they won the Super Bowl was in 2008. 15 years, well, I guess now 16 is 2024. 16 years ago. All right, let's go here. Somebody told me that I actually really appreciate. I wanted to address this one. Jake said, dude, your videos are so good. 24 going to be groundbreaking for you. I can tell. I appreciate that, guys. 200K by the end of the year is the goal. 200K by the end of the year. That is the goal. All right. What is a scorching hot take that you 100% believe? All right. Let me think here. Let me think. I always got to pull up all the teams whenever someone asks for a scorching hot take. I want to pull up all the teams. All right. I have one take that is spicy. I don't know how scorching hot is. I'll allow you guys to be the judge of whether or not it's scorching hot. But what I will say is I and this could really bite me in the ass. I hope it bites me in the ass. But I don't think, and this is like from 2024 to like, 2023 season is where we still are. In the next 3-4 years, I don't think Trevor Lawrence will lead the Jags to a Super Bowl. I don't know how scorching hot that is, but I'm not a big Trevor guy. I don't want to say I dislike Trevor because I don't dislike Trevor. I just think a lot of people are here on Trevor, and I'm here on Trevor. And I've never been like, wow, man, like Trevor just, man, he just has it. Like he just, put him up there with Mahomes and Allen, Trevor right there. So if that would qualify for a scorching hot take, I don't think Trevor will lead the Jags to a Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years. I hope that answers your question. If you want any more scorching hot, let me know. But I think that's probably like the spicy take that I have, that I'm not a big Trevor guy. I'm just not. I just don't think. Like I said, I think he's here. I think other people think he's here. So that's where I am on Trevor. All right. Let's see. My guy King Supervan. Tomlin reminds me of the quote you asked me. Yeah, this is a perfect, man. This is perfect. Leroy Horde, who was a former Vikings fullback, actually said this back in the 90s. This is just such a fullback quote. He said, "Coach, if you need 1 yard, I'll get you 3. If you need me 5, I'll get you 3." And that's actually a great. I actually love this. I wish I could pin this. I got to be honest. I don't know how to like pin comments. No, that's so awesome though. That's a great super chat, and it 100% just that exemplifies like what the Steelers have been since in the past like 15 years with Mike Tomlin. I'm not a big Mike Tomlin guy, not a big Trevor guy. I think the Steelers could do better. I think they could achieve more. But I will at least kind of be fair to Tomlin that the quarterback play has not been good for him for really like the past 2 or 3 years. So I will at least give him that, but I just don't think he's ever going to lead him to another Super Bowl. It's like his in-game decisions, I really question. So I'm not the biggest Tomlin guy. All right, here we go. All right, that's pretty good. T-Law had MVP expectations coming into the year. Brady thumped Peyton. Peyton was one above 500 in playoffs. Honestly, the way Doug is ruining Trevor like he ruined Carson, it is possible they don't win a Super Bowl in Trevor Lawrence's tenure in Jacksonville. See, like, I don't, that's the thing is, like, I don't think Trevor will lead them to a Super Bowl, but it's more of because of, like, Allen and Mahomes and Lamar. But Trevor is 23, or he might be 24 years old. Like, I don't want to sit here and project a guy, on New Year's night in 2024, that, man, 2033, when Trevor's 32 years old, like, 33 years old, whatever that number would be, he's going to lead them that year. So, but like in the next 3 or 4 years, I will say that I don't think the Jags do it. So hopefully, like that answers. Baker is so underrated. He's fine. Yeah, I think Baker is kind of underrated. Non-delusional Cowboys fans here. I am glad you specified that. Thoughts on our defense? I think we've been very vulnerable lately. So I would agree that you are non-delusional Cowboys fans. Honestly, I don't think the Cowboys fan base is all that delusional. Yeah, you get talking heads like Skip, who... Skip cracks me up where he will have his wife like take a video of him throwing a Cowboys jersey into a trash can, and as soon as she like stops the record button, like he takes the jersey out of the trash can. But anyway, no, I really don't think the Cowboys fans are as delusional as they get credited. Without that botched call, they would have lost this in the Miami game. They're very vulnerable. I understand the concerns. I completely understand where you're coming from. But I get it. If I think with the Cowboys, you can really spin it any way you want. If you want to sit here and be doom and gloom and just say, you know what, like we're going to be a first round exit. We better hope that we play. I don't even know who they would play. Let me look here. Give me a second. There's really no team that you want to play right now. We better hope we play the Packers and hope that Jordan Love makes young quarterback mistakes in the first round and that we can beat them. I get it. I understand the concerns. What was this here without that? But yeah, I understand the concerns. I really do. Thoughts on our defense. Sorry, thoughts on our defense. That was terrible by me. Just disregard that last couple, 30 seconds. Thoughts on our defense. Yeah, the run defense definitely concerns me. It definitely concerns me with especially that Buffalo game. The 200-plus rushing yards, strictly because the Cowboys are built to get after the quarterback. Obviously, Jonathan Hankins being out in that game didn't help the Cowboys by any means. But no, I think they're obviously built for rushing the quarterback and getting after the quarterback. But I will say this, not just for Dallas, but San Francisco. I know it's like it's kind of a cop-out pick, but guys, I don't see anybody going to San Francisco in the playoffs, going out to Levi Stadium and beating them. That's not just a Cowboys fan. Or a Cowboys thing. That's an Eagles thing. That's a Lions thing. That's a Rams thing. That's a Packers thing if they get in. I don't think anybody's going out there. And Chris even says to the Cowboys fans, the quote, this is not from me, this is a quote from Chris. He says, "The Niners are your poppy." So that's from Chris. Anyway, John, appreciate it here. I'm going to take a drink before the super chat. I'm going to take a quick swig here. Quick swig of H2O. All right, here we go. All right, with the Cards win, do Pats go QB or Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft? So right now, the Commanders have the number 2 pick. So that, I mean, if the Commanders could go quarterback, so it's I hate to give you a cop out, but it's going to depend on how they, what goes to. We'll just say the Patriots have the 2nd pick in this scenario. I think they would go quarterback. You have to have a quarterback in this league, and I don't think having Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, or maybe they would give Baker Mayfield, we'll just say, like an astronomical number to come play quarterback. I think they would go quarterback. We'll just say that they have the number 2 pick for this scenario. To answer this question, they would go quarterback. I can't imagine that you have the choice between Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., and if you're a team that's had as bad quarterback play as the Patriots have, especially with Mac Jones throwing that meme interception against the Colts in Germany, that they would willingly take Marvin Harrison Jr., knowing that a quarterback, they have to have a guy throw him the ball. So quarterback, to answer your question. All right, here's a good question. This is actually a really good question. Let's see here. Do you think, and Joseph, I'll get to your question next. Do you think NFL officiating is a problem, or do people just like to cry about it when their team loses? That's a hilarious question. So to answer your question, it's definitely a little bit of both. Now the Lions one, I mean, that's completely justifiable. Like, there's no, I mean, I don't want to say there was no crying, because there certainly was, but it was like reasonable. Like, if you lose a game like that, yeah, you're gonna be pissed. I mean, you should be, right? But no, some of the officiating is bad. I think it's like 50-50. Like, people definitely like to cry when they lose. People definitely like to cry when they lose bets. My favorite thing personally, especially with all of the gambling legalization everywhere, is like, and we all know a person like this. Yo, man, like, I can't believe that they lost. My $5 parlay to win $700. Man, that was gonna make Vegas go bankrupt. I mean, I can't believe they had to call in to make sure my bet wasn't gonna win. Like, that type of shit. Like no one cares about that, man. Like, I'm sorry your bet lost, but like the people that cry about like the losing the bets, that's over officiating. Those ones always crack me up. So I do think it's a little bit of both, though, to answer the question. All right. Anyway. Joseph, he asks, would Commanders trade out for picks? I think they would, yes, strictly because it would be a king's ransom, just because of how, because whenever you trade out in a draft, it's obviously dependent on, what class it is. If it was the 2022 class where Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, and Derek Stingley were the first 3 picks, if you want to say Sauce was the 4th pick, you had a really good player, fine, go for it. That class is not the same as Caleb, Drake, and Marvin Harrison. So the haul that a team trading in the top 2 or 3 picks is different year to year. The Commanders are such a bad team right now, roster-wise, that I think they would have to trade out, just because it's like, look, we traded Montez Sweat, we traded Chase Young, which I thought the Montez Sweat trade for the Commanders was pretty dumb. Like, why not pay a good player anyway? Very, very beneficial for the Bears, but no, the Commanders are just such a bad team to where it's like, yeah, like we have to trade out to get more, more assets for our team, simply because we are that bad. Somebody says Lions will be getting healthy by the playoffs, especially with Aleem McNeil. By the way, Aleem McNeil is very underrated. So is James Houston, for that matter, which the commenter Q also said that. Like I said, for anybody, not just the Lions, I just don't think it matters, simply because it's like, hey, guys, let's go lose to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. That's for me, though. I just don't think – I think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, and that's kind of where I stand on that one. All right, thoughts on Chiefs absolutely clapping the Bengals? I mean, I wouldn't say an 8-point win when they were losing at a point is absolutely clapping them, but good team win. Is Mahomes' window closed when Reed and Kelsey are gone? That's just a huge, huge what if. To answer the question, though, no. I don't think it's gone by any means. Let's see here. I got to say, I'm not a fan of trades usually, but the Sweat trade was a steal. No, it definitely was. And I was like one of the ones like screaming, like, guys, like, this is a good trade. Like, God forbid that you actually have to pay a good player. Like, it's a good trade. It was a good trade then. It's a good trade now. All right. Anyway, guys, it's kind of past my bedtime. I will be putting a video out Tuesday. It's 12/24. Hopefully you guys have a good start to the new year. Appreciate everyone spending their New Year's in. And I will say, by the way, Obviously, whenever you think of New Year's, it is a very drink-heavy holiday. So hopefully everyone is in safe, not out drinking and driving. It's obviously that is just a major no-no. But like I said, hopefully everyone's in, being safe. And that's going to wrap up right now. It's live. So have a good night. Have a happy new year. And of course, the content will be coming out multiple times this week. And I will see you guys this week. And